You are watching Issues at Hand on Church of Uganda Family TV. My name is Timoheri Bruno Edgard. Thank you for joining us on this morning's edition. Now, Issues at Hand is proudly brought to you by Protea Hotel in Tebe. For those of you who are there over the weekend, I'm sure you have many testimonies to give. And for those of you who have conferences that you'd like to put up this week, the halls are very much available. For those of you who would like to work out, the gyms are very much available. For those of you who just who are traveling and want a room to rest in, the rooms are very much available. So please ensure you call the number on the screen and make a reservation and booking today. Now, when it comes to our conversation today, we are talking about the launch of the National Action Plan for Albinism that has been launched by Uganda, and we are going to talk about it, especially when it comes to the promotion and enforcement of the rights of persons living with albinism. Now, to help us tackle this issue and discuss this action plan is Miss Olive Namutebi, who is the Executive Director of Albinism Umbrella, making a triumphant return to Issues at Hand this morning.
Thank you so much, Bruno, and I'm glad to be here. As we'll dive deep into it right away. So, actually, just
before we get into that, for those of us who maybe missed out the last time you were here, what does the Albinism Umbrella of Uganda do?
Okay, well, thank you again for that warm welcome and the introduction. Names again, Olive Namutebi, and I head the Albinism Umbrella. This is an umbrella body that brings together organizations of persons dealing with albinism and well-wishers who want to see the rights of persons with albinism enhanced. So what we do at Albinism Umbrella is quite a lot, and I keep telling that the elephant is too big for us. So every aspect of life for a person with albinism, parents of children with albinism, so it's all about their rights and their well-being as persons with albinism.
Indeed, and we are going to get into more on Albinism Umbrella later on, as there's so much we need to understand about it, especially on how we can, like you said, well-wishers, how we can join this fight to promote the rights of persons living with albinism. But when it comes to the latest installment of Progress, we have the National Action Plan. Take us through the history and the journey of this action plan. How did it come about and why?
Thank you so much. And indeed, it's been a journey, a long journey that has taken us 3 years, so to speak, as a country. So the National Action Plan, which copy I have with me right here, stems from the African Plan of Action that was enacted by the Parliament, the African Union Parliament. This came about as the continent was grappling with issues of albinism, and they didn't see any better way than to have a separate plan of action. So this plan of action for persons with albinism is part of a large architecture by the African Union to deal with different issues of disability. But now albinism had come out on the continent as a big issue where the right to life is compromised. I can't say was, because even right now it is still compromised. So there are other issues, and like we are talking about rights, but the right to life, you know, it's so fundamental that it should not even, it's non-negotiable, so to speak. Yeah. So they deemed it fit at the African Union level, and this plan of action was endorsed by the EU, European Union, UNESCO, and other bodies that put their weight behind it. So what that plan calls on state parties is to domesticate it according to their national context. And Uganda is the third in Africa to do so. After, I think the first was Ghana, and the second could have been Senegal or so, then we are the third. Kenya is coming, Zambia, no, Malawi actually, Malawi, sorry. So we need to give credit where it is due. So we thank our government that saw us. Here I have Honorable Betty Amongi signing on this document. I have Honorable Samuel Helen signing on this document. I have the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Gender, Mr. Agri David Chivenge, and for us this is a confirmation that we are in this for you. So what this did for us is to, so to speak, have a roadmap. Where do we want to go? And we're in a global village, you know, so we want to be in sync with what the continent is saying, with what the globe is saying. And yes, we are into, I'll just borrow what our vision is at Albinism Umbrella, that we desire to have a society where persons with albinism are dignified and realize their full potential. So dignity is very paramount, and you cannot be dignified if, you know, your life is even threatened, you know. So you are in hiding. Your full potential will come a lot to you being able to express your voice, being able to have a livelihood, you know, to have a decent life. So this is really the fundamental that we look at even at Albinism Umbrella. And what this National Action Plan did is to look at albinism in Uganda. And some of the pillars, or so to speak, the main policy areas, needless to say, education, we talked about health, we talked about employment, talked about women with albinism because they are a peculiar group in one or another. We talked about children, you know. We want to emphasize the issues about children, you know, their vulnerability when it comes to such, where parents, you know, take off. So as a child, a minor, what happens to this life that is new and they don't know where to go? And also specifically in this, we talked about refugees. As a country, we know that I think, the third in the world to have the largest population of refugees. I may be wrong, but at least we're among the best 5. And we have a number of persons with albinism in the refugee settlements. So their unique challenges could not miss in here, now that we are domesticating a plan of action from Africa as a continent. So we look at this as a holistic approach, that if this is implemented by you and me, we are the government in one or another, you know.
True. Because
one of the big issues that the first actually pillar was creating awareness. These others I've mentioned are key, but until people are aware that Olive is a fully human being like you and me, it's only an issue of a skin color, I can employ her, my child can sit in class with her child, because those are issues of awareness, basic awareness. Do we know what albinism is? I always want to re-echo this, that albinism is only a genetic condition that is inherited from both parents, and it is not passed on, it is not contagious, but genetics. That your mom and your dad had the albinism gene that formed me. And so when parents try to, so to speak, quote unquote, criminalize this and say it's a woman's issue, your blood flows in my veins. So it's mom and dad who made me who I am. So this awareness will go a long way to debunk certain myths. There are so many myths about albinism, you know, and we are dealing with cultural beliefs, we're dealing with lots of society misconceptions, so to speak. You know, times when we don't know something, just to remind us of the bad times, not that they are gone. When COVID came, you know, whatever came around. And can you imagine, even then, because we are quite in a dark continent, they're like, COVID is for the bazungus. Those people brought COVID. People with albinism were on the front line. They even threw some of them in a taxi. You're people who brought COVID. And you're like, really? I am a Ugandan like you, just because of a skin color. So we need to do a lot of awareness. Awareness, awareness, awareness.
Now, when it comes to the last time you were here, one of the things that we mentioned, that you mentioned specifically, was that we have very good laws as far as promoting and enforcing the rights of persons living with albinism, but the problem has been implementation. What separates this national action plan from the current laws that we have? What is it going to add into the plight as far as persons living with albinism is concerned?
Thank you so much. And again, that was the core of our fight, so to speak. Yes, because the ministry said, no, we have a lot of literature on disability. You've all been included. So what is it that, you guys are bringing on table? And said, look, when you talk about disability in general, and you talk about, let's say, assistive devices, and people have the white cane, you have the wheelchair, you have the buildings modified, a person with albinism doesn't need all this. We thank you that we're in the category of person with disability. That's a big milestone. But we are saying we need to be very specific about this category. Today, disability definition is very fluid, and there's disability by age. It's big. So until we find a place in this big, big conference, so to speak, big definition, then we'll be left behind again. So we are looking specifically at, for instance, I need a cream to move in the sun. We're in Africa, we're in Uganda, the sun is here. Africa is not all. They don't have the sun like we do here, not the whole of it. So there is a cream we call sunscreen to just protect me to be on the streets of Kampala, and I'm comfortable. Today, that cream was categorized as a cosmetic. Thanks to Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, during her tenure, that was redefined to move from cosmetics to a drug, because for us, it is not cosmetics. It is a drug that I need, so to speak. The battle is not over.
Does that have an effect on the pricing?
Very, very high. You know why? Because it used to be in the class of cosmetics, heavily taxed, and our government loves taxes because that's the bloodline. But here we are, that this blanket of taxing cosmetics, there is this item for us, it's a drug. So yes, it was removed, but it has so many, say, considerations, so to speak. So it's not a blanket. So every consignment I get, I have to go to the commissioner URA and say, okay, this was blah, blah, blah. That is the environment we are dealing with. We want again to say, what does this National Action Plan separate us from the rest of the plans, the laws that are in the land? It is being specific on such items that would otherwise get unnoticed. A person with albinism needs contact lenses because we are legally blind. That's the definition. Though it varies, that Olive may be able to see 2 meters, another may see 1, another may even see less than, let's say, 400 centimeters, because it varies. We are different. And just because our eyes have that involuntary movement, we can't focus. So many of us are very short-sighted. In this journey, I used to think that as you age, and biology serves me right, maybe the eyes, get dimmer and all that. I was pleasantly shocked. We had a field trip with Mengo Hospital. We partner with them on this. I think it's really the eye department that is the best in the country. We went to some schools in Nuero. We found, I think, 3 4-year-olds, 3 to 4 years, who were almost blind. And these are children with albinism. So until we have such interventions that are so intentional for them, they're left behind. You can be in the group, oh yes, we are all people with disabilities. We sing all this, but where is my space as a person with albinism? Where is my space as a parent who has been chased from her home, and I'm told, you are the problem why this child is here. Because my husband or whoever doesn't understand, we are dark and we have a white child. And they're saying, no, you committed adultery, this child is not my... Such parents may not even want to do the DNA because I don't know how many of us have the services or know about or can go for the services of a DNA when a marital issue like this has come up. So these are issues of awareness that we really hope that this National Action Plan will streamline issues of albinism. And it's not so much to ask. We feel it's not so much to ask, because looking at the cost of a wheelchair and the cost of a teacher letting a child sit nearer to the blackboard, when I weigh, one is really way lighter than the other, you know. But if this teacher is not sensitized to understand the needs of that child, then they drop out. I alluded to the fact the last time I was here that we carried out a spatial mapping for persons with albinism. And it was very sad to note that half of school-going age children were out of school. Before COVID, meanwhile, because yes, we did it in the period of 2020, 2021, but we were specific because we knew COVID disrupted education.
Yes.
The question was your child in school before this pandemic?
For the lockdowns.
Yes, because for us that was critical. Half were not there. The reasons: I enrolled, they pulled my child out. 2, the school is too far, I am so poor. I know that is also relative. You have fees for the rest of the children, but for this one, because she can't see, then she can't be in the sun. I feel those are excuses that we can work on. Give a heart to this child to walk. Let the teacher be accommodative. Let students not bully this child out of school, because we begin school at 4 years, 3 years. So how much can that child withstand bullying? A 4-year-old, and they're all touching, they're pinching, they're doing this. Many of them drop out. And if the parent is not resilient, that's the end.
Now, you've tackled, as far as the National Action Plan is concerned, you've given us hints on what it has to say on education, what it has to say on health, as far as persons with albinism is concerned. But now, something that greatly affects, and you shared last time you were here as well, persons with albinism, is the mindset of Ugandans, and especially when it comes to culture. So in your honest opinion, do you believe that the National Action Plan tackles this issue of culture and mindset change as far as Ugandans are concerned?
Yes, it does. And I'll also borrow a leaf on the National Development Plan 3. Yeah? You know, there is human capital development, and there is a lot on mindset change. This is something that I know will not achieve in a year, because culture and values and beliefs take time to be built. So us undoing certain values or certain beliefs may take a long way. So we've called it a blanket of awareness raising. And in there, we are looking at the target, the media. You are our forefront soldier to create this awareness to whoever is viewing Family TV this morning and say, hey, there was a child I saw in my neighborhood. I'm even concerned to know, do they even go to school? Or how are they? You know, it's the people that are around us that know more about how this person is. In that research, you would find that some are just locked up and just hear a neighbor whisper, shh, there is someone there, but don't say. Don't tell me, don't tell them that it's me who told you. So the child is locked there. Yes, you provide food and accommodation, but there is much more. This is a full human being who needs to enjoy, not even just enjoy life, to see outside, to go to school, to have a life like anybody else. So cultural issues, we want to target the cultural institutions, religious institutions. You know the power that religious institutions have.
Yes.
A lot of power. You know, when the Right Reverend speaks, God has spoken, you know. And my commission in the Ministry of Education keeps narrating a story that she had in some region, Western Uganda, okay, the oil region, so to speak. Let me be a little specific. So she had gone to church. And any other person, it is free entry. For church, really, we don't have invitation. So this little child with albinism comes to church and moves close to the front. Maybe because we cannot see, and I do that quite often. Of course, now as I learn, I don't really go to the forefront before they push you behind. But I need to be a little closer to see and interact well. And I think this could have been the mind of this child. So when they drew near, and other big people came, or other congregants, so to speak. So the leader in that church saw him and said, get out. So my commissioner is like, why are you chasing this little girl? No, they need to go there. And therein was the belief system of why him to go behind. Was it because he had albinism? Okay, the interaction with my commissioner alluded to the fact that, these ones should be sitting behind because of blah, blah, blah. So there was sensitization right there. That's why I call upon our viewers today that you and me can change society. You and me can change the way we believe and look at life. God is so diverse. White, black, in a dark continent, in a black continent, they put some of us in there, perhaps to light the continent. So let's embrace life and what it brings.
Yes, and as a church, it's unfortunate that happened, especially when we have been called from Scripture to love our neighbors as we love ourselves.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot that needs to be done as a body of Christ. Now, something that you mentioned that is in the National Action Plan that's interesting is the plight of women with albinism. What exactly does the National Action Plan say about that?
Thank you so much.
And why is it important? Because, of course, we're in a dispensation. I know there are many men who are always saying, everything now is about women. And so it's interesting that even when it comes to persons with albinism, there's also a need for highlighting the plight of women.
I want to give, not a disclaimer, but our position that we really believe, not because I'm on Family TV, but we believe the supremacy of God, and having made us male and female, I do not believe I have every right to do what the man does. You are genetically formed as a man. I am a woman, and I'll just leave it at that for whatever reason it is. So we are not saying that women are equal to men. No, each one has their place. But why we looked at women, because they have been the foundation, can I say, they've been left to bear the burden, in quotes again, about albinism. Why? For you it's evident, when you're expecting, you have a child, but the man is scot-free. I can deny having fathered that child. And it's been the woman at the center stage of the issues of albinism. It is that woman. She committed adultery. It is her family that is evil. It is her who did this. It's the woman. And by gender, really, women are disadvantaged in some ways. There's been a lot of women emancipation, and kudos to our government. Really, women have gotten up, but not all women, And we are saying the category of mothers with albinism, the category of Olive as a woman with albinism, I also have a right, I have a right to marry, I have a right to give birth, I have a right to do anything. But some of these rights are so compromised. We've seen women going to a health center and she's expecting, and they're like, but even you. And we're like, but am I an animal? If I am a human being, who has the right to do everything like you do? And women being emphasized in the National Action Plan, we felt that they could be the forefront in fighting ignorance, And just to look at back how society was, men would go work and women stay home and nurture the child, do, so to speak, being a homemaker, So we are looking at this mother whose knowledge about albinism is also very limited, because our research showed that actually, I think 2% had a diploma and above, 2 of the parents, So we want to put the woman at the forefront for awareness, to nurture this child, even to the husbands, and tell them this is possible. Can you look at your line, at your generation? So There are women who have been traumatized when they have a child with albinism, and themselves they take off, you know. So you would be there breastfeeding this young child. You are denying them even that right, you know. Because my belief, by the way, that a child needs to be breastfed, you know, until they are better. There is no perfect substitute for breast milk. So a woman is so important in this fight. And why we also emphasized women, it's unfortunate. One of the myths is targeting women and girls. And it's absurd. We in that research, it showed that many people know about HIV/AIDS, how it is spread, how it is prevented, and all that. But there is a very bad myth around that when you have carnal knowledge of a woman with albinism, you get cured of HIV/AIDS. And you're like, hey, now the woman is still on the front line, is being targeted. And because of this, I speak this with a lot of, you know, sadness, and like you feel bad. Because our people, one, they have not been empowered enough. Their economic status is so low, they have believed this lie and have acquired HIV/AIDS, you know. So do you know your self-worth? Even when you don't have $1 million money or banked somewhere, but as a human being, you need to know, I am who I am. And want also to debunk the myth of that having sex with a person with albinism is chance, not choice. Like, who says it's a choice, just like any other person? So some of our young girls and women have gotten into trouble and in so many things because of such beliefs in society. Very absurd.
It's very absurd and very unfortunate. But that's why we're here, to debunk these myths and
Absolutely.
to grow in wisdom. Now, that's on women. Something that's also very important, especially when it comes to persons with albinism, is employment. So I want to understand what this National Action Plan has to say about that, especially in connection with the other existing laws as far as promoting the rights of persons with albinism when it comes to employment is concerned.
Thank you so much. Again, we are touching pillar by pillar. And why we put issue of employment very paramount is, and we're looking at employment broadly. It's not only for the white collar jobs, no. For even those that we want to skill, because many have not been skilled. And I'll begin just at the lower level of, you see a man or woman put up a small roadside kiosk and is selling these vegetables and groceries, and people won't buy from them because they have albinism, because we don't exactly think they're human enough, you know. So with looking at empowerment, looking at awareness, we are saying we are fully human. Could you support us live a good livelihood? Moving straight to the other side of some people who have, again, attained a level of education, there has been a lot of frustration. I have a colleague who is a medical personnel, has all the qualifications, went in for this interview, emerged the best, and they were bold enough to tell him, we won't give you this because you scare our clients.
That's what they told
Oh
me.
yes, this is private sector.
Wow.
We think government is the biggest employer, but we're in the partnership of private, public, you know.
Yes.
Now you imagine that level of ignorance, that you can lose a resource because they are skilled, they have proved to you they understand what the job requires, but because they have albinism, and you say, no, 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 no. We are on record that the first person with albinism employed by the government of Uganda was through Parliament, and thanks to the efforts of Albinism Umbrella. And again, we thank the 10th Parliament through Honorable Kadaga. That for us was a big advocacy moment. That Allen today is employed as a staff for our viewers, Parliament does not have only MPs, and we got to know about that. Yes, there are a whole lot of work in there. So there are many departments that support, you know, the MPs that you see. So she's one of the people at the back door serving the nation. So in this, we are also getting to the public service and say, hey, when you employ someone with albinism, just don't give them the work that will expose them to the sun. So these small things of asking, we call it reasonable accommodation, of a little adjustment for me. If I'm going to go into the army or police, I may not be a very good candidate to be on a parade from midday to 3 or from 10 up to end of day under the sun, you see. So we are asking for such flexibility that I will be able, not if I'm on a computer, that my computer, I'm not stationed in a place that either has too much light, the sun comes. We feel that these are small issues that through awareness can be done, and we employ our people. I'm proud of Nakasero Hospital and Mukono. Dr. Isaac is there on merit again. So we want to prove to the world that when given chance, we can really deliver. And I'm told he has a very good ranking in customer care, and for the patients that he has dealt with, they always want to get back to him. And he has very interesting scenarios of some patients who never wanted, saw him and they're like, what? No, no, not him. Yeah.
Until they had a change of heart after seeing how skilled he is.
And some of them have been, they are now his friends, from extremely saying, how can I even talk to him? Does he even know what he's doing? But these are beliefs. I'm privy to a certain tribe in Uganda that believe when you meet, for Bruno and Olive today we've met, in their tribe, they would go back and slaughter a cow. Yeah.
Why?
Bad omen. Slaughter a cow. I don't know how many they would have slaughtered in Kampala, because I think we are getting quite many. I see, because of this awareness, people are now also coming out.
Yes.
And we need to tell such a person that, you know what, I'm fully human like you. I have every other faculty functioning like you, just because of a skin color. But now for such, to debunk that, grandparents and whoever said, when you do this, you know, it's like for me and you believe in the scripture,
yes,
gospel truth. So to debunk such, and stories told that someone from that tribe was a teacher and found a child with albinism. She just walked out. So these are the daily things we are dealing with, and say, okay, now supposing it is your fellow teacher, what do? You leave the employment, you leave the school. So it's a matter of awareness. So employment, we are saying, please support us where the skills are. And I tell my people with albinism, your skin will not give you a job. The skin will not give you a job. Get the skill. It is a fight. It's a fight in the jungle. We are all looking for survival. But why am I disadvantaged on an issue that I can't change? You know, I have every other skill. I can do everything else. But because I don't have that skin like you throw me out. So this awareness is what we want the employers to do. And just to conclude this issue, there is a law, and I think we've really discussed it, about the quota system, where employers were given a tax waiver for employing a person with disability. Do you know what our employers used to do? They just get you, dump you somewhere, and you are so redundant. But just like, you know, a dummy, so to speak. We've done our duty. And we're saying, no, give me work to do that is commensurate to my skills. Pay me as others who are doing that job. I think that that law actually in public service is about to be either changed or, you know, redefined, that just don't put somebody there and do a tax claim, rather a tax waiver. No, 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 no. Let us be engaged. I also want to learn. I also want to give my skill so that we contribute to the development of our country.
Indeed, and that's very important as far as those pillars are concerned. Now, there are many other pillars, of course, but it's important to tackle some of the key areas that are affecting persons with albinism. And we have, once again, for those of you who might have just joined, that's education, health, employment, women's rights, then the plight of children, then as well as the plight of refugees. So much more that the National Action Plan puts forward when it comes to changing the shape of our country as far as how our mindset is when it comes to persons with albinism. Now we're going to get into this and more, and especially I want to hear from you on what you, if you feel confident when it comes to the implementation of this National Action Plan, which is always the bric-a-brac when it comes to Uganda's projects. So Uganda is very good at having projects, at having laws, very good laws, but the problem always comes with implementation. Now, what confidence do you have, or what is the strategy that in your discussions with other stakeholders have you received as far as the implementation for this National Action Plan is concerned? Will it be a success, or will we have another wonderful document that outlines the rights of persons living with albinism, but no implementation? And
left on the shelves.
Exactly.
And no. I'll really speak about Albinism Umbrella and spearheading the implementation of this. So to speak, we have so many stakeholders, and the biggest stakeholder, and like I alluded to the fact that the government had to have its stamp. The government is me and you, but the government has that big arm, the biggest spender, the biggest employer, the biggest everything, government. So as a stakeholder, government has a big role to play. But civil society organizations, development partners, the media, the stakeholders are quite many. And this being a big document, so to speak, or it's a vision that we really believe that it can be done. We will not do it in one day. What have we done this far? Or this was actually signed off last year in June on the International Albinism Awareness Day, which was done in Lira, and again we have had it done. It was done here in Kampala, I think in 2022, just last year. One of the things that we're on the forefront is awareness, like I talked about it. And Albinism Umbrella has held 8 International Albinism Awareness Days since its inception in 2015, 2014. We want to continue to do this, and we pledge that we'll continue to do this, because the more we create awareness, and having had a day that is internationally designated for awareness, we cannot do otherwise. We can't let this go. So every celebration for us, we are saying we're implementing. It may not look huge or whatever, but whoever is changed, and we've been very intentional on having it rotate in Uganda, I think as of last year we had done the major 4 regions. We were in the north, we were in Mbale, we've been in the central. This year we are going to Masaka. Last year we were in Fort Portal. The Western is also big. And it was unfortunate. During our research, the Western region was very virgin about albinism. Eastern, source of the Nile, has done a lot. Northern, something has been done. In the central, but Western Uganda was...
What did your research show?
It showed that issues of albinism in Western Uganda are so unknown. People do not even know the cause of skin cancer. Like a big, I think like 85%, they don't know. They were like, okay, Western Uganda, and we're in Uganda. I don't want to insinuate anything. But yes, there was so much ignorance about it. And we are saying, let's try to look at the low-lying fruits. Where there is a lot of darkness, of ignorance, can we get our guns there and, bring us to speed? The other thing that we are doing, because we are part of the whole disability fraternity, 3rd December is International Disability Day. We're not going to relax and say because we have June 13th, we want to be part. We are going to be part, and we are part of it. Again, last year we're in Kole, you know. So that awareness is key. Looking at the other fundamental pillar of education, you know, and we are saying it is a huge foundation, because you and me, I am certain if we had not seen some blackboards, we would not be here. And we have started with, there's a department in the Ministry of Education called Special Needs. Greetings to Commissioner Sarah Bogosi and Sarah Yesiga. You just first get their friendship, and they're not even friendship, but working relationship with them. At least with UNEB, Uganda National Examination Board, our plight has been heard. How? That for learners sitting national exams, can they get a large print so that they are able to see? Not many have contact lenses to enlarge. Not many have magnifying glasses. We're saying just for once, as a national exam, can I have font 14 or even 16? That this learner will be able, you know, you know, when you're going to sit exams, you are tense, you are this. It's a diagram, maybe a geography paper, you can't see the map. I remember doing and for me, map reading was a no-go area. Because they were always small, I could not see. So for me, that number, always off. So we have an engagement with the UNEB, and there are some learners who are already benefiting from this. Now the call is on the head teachers, because Albinism Umbrella, we have tried, but we cannot cover the whole country, or we are not yet there. So for every learner, and they have not yet registered, thank God we are just in April, we are calling upon the head teachers to forward the names to UNEB, so that that print comes specifically for learner XYZ in a school ABC. It comes
for UNEB to know the number, so
exactly.
that
they can print. They will not do out of the blue, you know. Again, we are looking at the head teachers. We're asking the ministry that will inform the DEOs, because the district education officers usually meet beginning of term. So those are some of the areas that we want to say, when you give knowledge right from the DEO to tell the HM, to tell, you know, their teachers would have done something. We are implementing the National Action Plan. So Albinism Umbrella, on the other hand, looking at health, we're just running through this. Health is huge. We are not apologetic of how bad our health system is. Really, every average Ugandan knows the cost of health. We know, we can't hide that. This is our country, we love it, but we are saying, hey, our battle is higher. That even as we are crying for medicine in these hospitals, for me, somebody in Chidera, Kabera, Maido cannot go to a health center and ask for sunscreen. They're not there. And how are they going to get there? Albinism Umbrella has embarked on a journey with the Ministry of Health. Today I can proudly say we have a memorandum of understanding with the ministry, you know, to create awareness, to have sunscreens on the essential drug list. You know, it's a lot of learning and unlearning. Back then we thought you'd just advocate and do things, until you get to know how things are done in the government system, and then you follow the paths, nothing will be done. So yes, and Honorable Kadaga had written to the ministry, said nothing will be done. Those letters will do nothing until it is on the essential drug list. And we are asking the Ministry of Health, we know that it is under review, that in the assistive device, they've called it assistive technology, AT, sunscreens to be part. When they are, and they get on the essential drug list, National Drug Authority will now have the mandate to procure. But they will not procure until the health units ask. You see how that whole...
The chain link.
The chain link.
Yes.
So we need to get down to the health facilities, tell them what to put on that list. Of course, we've been there and we've had some wonderful interaction. We've called it a community scorecard, where we've just tackled health as a service. It's amazing how these hospitals and how the nurses, who should know the science, were like, oh, okay. No, like they it's so amazing. And they have just one, we used to just tell them to go to the skin specialist. because I think because my skin is different, my problems are skin. No, I can suffer from malaria, I can suffer from any other illness. You know what the nurses would do? You see Olive, skin clinic. See another skin clinic. You're like, but wait, today I'm pregnant, tomorrow I have HIV, I have malaria, I have cholera, any other illness. So we're telling these dear health professionals that please assess what I have. Please don't just send me to a skin specialist. Today it could be the eyes, you know. And we have also other health challenges. So for us, that is an area of implementation, that getting an MOU with a ministry is a first step. My commissioner, Dr. George Upenso in community health, you know. So we need to get those allies in the different ministries so that issues of albinism will be tabled. Ministry of Education, when you are buying assistive devices, white cane, can we have some lotions? Can we have some white-brimmed hats? Can we allow some schools that have sleeveless kind of uniform? Can we alter that uniform for someone to be well, you know, protected? Exactly. Yes. Can we tell learners to interact with the risk? So Albinism Umbrella needs your support to create this awareness in schools, in hospitals, in the community, cultural leaders, religious. It's huge. It's huge. It's huge.
Indeed. And very quickly, because you're running out of time,
True.
Apart from working on this awareness and the implementation of the National Action Plan, what else is the Albinism Umbrella looking forward to doing this year?
Thank you so much. Albinism Umbrella is looking forward to creating awareness, but like I just ended health, we dream to have sunscreens locally produced in Uganda. We are looking at innovation. We are looking at having these factories, you know. We can do it. The scientists are here. We are saying this year, we are getting our sleeves into, can we have these precious stones brought here? Because right now they are just donations made for the white skin. Can we have a local sunscreen produced in Uganda? Among other things we are doing. For us, that is so passionate. And we have started also on a very fundamental project of economic livelihood. And we are beginning in Kamwenge and Chegegwa, needless to say, Western Uganda, with the refugee community there. We want to empower them. Skills. We want to get to the EMIOGAs, the parish development model, the special grant. Until our people are in these groups, they have been sensitized. Some of these government projects will elude them. So we are also positioning strategically to say, hey, let's get to the ground and form these groups, empower our people, let the leaders know we are here, and we'll have a better life for persons with albinism.
Indeed, and that is what we are all aspiring for, and that's what we should work together as stakeholders as well, as far as making sure that the life for persons with albinism is better, is thriving here in Uganda. Thank you so much for taking us through this National Action Plan.
Most welcome.
We wait to hear from you, and wait to hear for more testimonies from Albinism Uganda and the persons living with albinism in Uganda, as far as life being better. And thank you so much for coming to Issues at Hand this morning, and we hope that you will play your role as far as fighting for the enforcement of the rights with for persons living with albinism here in Uganda. It's very important that we are all stakeholders. Like she said, we are government as well, and so we have the mandate to ensure the implementation of this National Action Plan. We continue with more wonderful discussions here on Issues at Hand, but for now we'll call it ciao, and see you tomorrow as you enjoy the rest of the programming today on Church of Uganda Family TV.